Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 17 Deadline stream in partnership with FPL Team. And it's live. FPL Team is your best one-stop shop for all your future FPL planning, particularly important over the Christmas period. Yep, it's Christmas. Nearly. Happy Christmas to all our viewers. If you're in live, smash a like, hit the sub button. It's truly appreciated. We are 10 AM UK time. 55 minutes away from the Game Week 17 deadline stream as per usual. I'll be trying to get through as many of your FPL dilemmas as I can between now and that 11 AM deadline. Before I do, and for the benefit of those new around here, let me take you through the graphics, of which I can see some are not on the screen. So let's get that sorted for you. There you go. That should sort that out now for you. Captaincy, it's Haaland, isn't it? Foden's probably the one to take him on. Semenyo, Cherky, Thiago, I've got the top 5. Please don't put Thiago as your vice captain. Obviously, he is a doubt. That will rotate with my correct score predictions for the game week. Top right hand corner, you will see my lineup as it stands. There's no intention to change it. I made a change just before the price changes last night, bringing in Hugo Ekitike for Nick. Voltemade, I line up this week for Bruggen, Timber, Hincapi, Van Dijk, O'Reilly, Foden, Fernandes. That's the Bruno version. Harry Wilson, Thiago, Captain Haaland, Vice Captain Hugo Ekitike on the bench, Dubravka, Bruno Guimaraes, Malik Chow, and an injured Keenan Dewsbury Hall. That's 0.3 in the bank, rolling 1 transfer. No intention to do anything with that between now and deadline. Bottom right hand corner of the screen, you'll see my predicted lineups for all 20 teams this game week. That will rotate during the course of the stream. Right at the bottom of the ticker, you will see next 5 fixtures and all the flag players in the game currently. Above that and directly below me, you will see the benching dilemmas where 2 players are together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start. They run in order, pages 1 to 4, and you will find some goalkeepers on there on page 5. That is the graphics done. Therefore, everyone, this leaves me to say, good luck. Play it your way. Let's get into the questions. First up is Mike FPL says, hi James, Hincapi will likely be a problem soon, so shall I just transfer him out now for O'Reilly or save the transfer? Thanks and Merry Christmas to Harry. Thank you, Harry. Someone said Merry Christmas. He's very excited, bless him. No, at the moment. I just hold fire. I guess a lot of this as well is like, what's your Gabriel plan? What's the Gabriel plan? So for me, it's probably Hincapi to Gabriel and Van Dijk to Chalobah is the sort of thing I'm thinking in a couple of weeks. Do you want O'Reilly long term? If the answer is yes, then I'm going to say yes because the timing is probably right. Grander says, James, I see you prioritised Ekitike. Why not Semenyo? Okay, so I looked at loads of options and actually I didn't find the decision really easy this week. I was close to making that transfer Thursday night, held off, wanted more information yesterday. I didn't want to cut myself off Cunha moving forward. That was the main thing for me, looking at other potential transfers via FPL Team. That's probably what I've done now, unless I get an injury somewhere else. I've concluded that's okay. I couldn't foresee many circumstances where, unless I went to Krupi, I wasn't just going to end up chasing Ekitike for next week anyway. And the only thing that was really putting me off was sitting here now and going, I'm not sure if he starts against Wolves. But he scores today. Probably. And then it would be weird to take him out of the team for that game. Liverpool's spacing is quite good over the Christmas period. So I decided that's the route I wanted to take. Wasn't that, Semenyo's bad. But I had decided Thursday night Semenyo wasn't going to be the guy for me, whatever option I took. Great option for this week, no doubt about it. I think the fixture afterwards, Brentford away, is good. Then it's rough. Chelsea, Arsenal. I wanted something. I've been on the kind of the 3 forwards all season. I kind of really wanted to stay on that option. And I knew that Semenyo was going to be another transfer in a couple of weeks. He's also on 4 yellow cards. And if you read the news at the moment, it sounds like he's going somewhere else in January, and early January, and I don't know where that's going to be as yet. And even when he does move, does he walk straight into the team automatically? I think if he went in, it was for 2 weeks only. Then I changed that to Cunha. But then I was still left with a problem with the forward areas. I also wasn't helped by Dewsbury Hall's injury. In a sense, that's going to need to be dealt with at some point as well. I'm 0.2 up on him, so I didn't need to be in a position of panic from that perspective. So that's the reason why. It's not that I think Semenyo's bad for the next couple. I've got him third on the captaincy for this week. I chose a different route, mate. Drake Lorien says, howdy James, greetings from Singapore. Haaland blank last 2 home games while he returned last 2 away games. Any pattern there that suggests Foden cap is the way this week? No. The pattern would maybe be in terms of perhaps the physicality of the centre-backs from Leeds and Sunderland, making it particularly difficult. West Ham, in terms of individual duel-ins, are terrible. I'd have no concerns about that personally. It would be a real surprise if he didn't score today. Aaron McCorden says, morning, mate. I need to decide between Gimrez and Welbeck starting today. What do you think? I'd go Gimrez, purely because that's the one I think we can be confident in starting. The Hertzler comments about Danny Welbeck yesterday, not particularly clever, basically saying he's not in great condition at the moment. So he's obviously carrying a little bit of a problem. So Gimrez has been really good in home games. I've got him as first sub as insurance, pretty much against, obviously, if Thiago doesn't play. So, yeah, I would be playing Bruno Gimrez on that one. Daniel Grelski says, bench boost chip active. The bus team is set, but I have 2 free transfers, and I'm thinking about strengthening the squad by swapping Bruno Gimrez for Tavernier or Kluivert. Thoughts? I wouldn't go Kluivert. Chance that Krupi could come in for him today, I think, is a possibility. So I think Tavernier, the more secure of those, and he was a player I was very much considering this week. I guess part of that as well is like, what's the next moves? So if you go Tavernier, are you happy with that long term? Because you've then put a bit of money aside. What are you going to do with that money? I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping hold of Bruno Guimaraes. Start today is like 98%, despite the fact he's played 2 already this week. David James Whiteway, VVD or Senesi? As this to start? I mean, on that, it's Senesi. They're close together. I wouldn't buy Senesi at this stage. I Chanel says, hi, James. Still own Pope and need a goalkeeper. Who do you recommend for 5.4 or less? 2 recommendations for you. One is for Bruggen, my keeper. If you've got Dubravka as well, the rotation is fine long term. I've got eyes on Sanchez in a few weeks. I don't mind if you decide to go there early. One of those 2 for me. Jock Goat says, hi, James. Sorry, there's one more before you. Kenneth Fad says, play Welbeck or sell for someone else. Only have Rodon on my bench. No money in the bank. I think it's a sell. I think anyway, if you're looking ahead and you're like, oh, West Ham and Burnley, 19-20, wasn't going to start both of them anyway, even if he was in good condition. So I think it's a sell. Where you go to in terms of forwards at this moment, scrape the barrel a little bit. Bowen and Ekateke are going to be even hotter next week than they've been over the course of this week. You can't go Mateta now, unfortunately, at this stage. Raul Jimenez for a couple might be a way out for you, but then you chain that onto something else. And as I've spoken previously, I'd be a bit concerned that leans into Tierno Barry. But if you're a fixture hunter, I don't think that's terrible. Failing that, you could do similar with Evan Nilsson for a couple of weeks. I don't love that. Probably prefer Jimenez of the 2. Evan Nilsson's record in strong-looking home games, bizarrely, is just not good. There aren't too many others. So you might want to spread the money about a little bit. So if Rodon ends up playing for you this week, that's not the worst thing. Jock Goat says, hi, James. Hope you're well. Start one of VVD, Richards and Gordon. Good luck, mate. If I've got Anthony Gordon, I'm probably playing that, I would think. It's his type of fixture in terms of could be really good on transition. So although Chelsea are probably the second best in terms of how they set up in terms of rest defence. But yeah, I probably would chance Gordon. He's on pens as well. Thomas Jones says, morning, James. Selling Welbeck to a cheap enabler. But who would your preferred choice out of Mark Gu and Krupi Jr. be? Any others worth considering? Have a great Christmas to you and your family, mate. For me, Krupi Jr. by a distance. There's 2 reasons for that. One, I think fast forward 4 or 5 game weeks and we might be looking for Chelsea treble ups. That's something to bear in mind. And with Krupi, you've got a player there who could break into the team and is potentially actually a usable option. Mark Gu is not going to be that. Liam Delap's back next week as well. So strongly prefer Krupi over that. Keep an eye on Kostoulis at Brighton, but even despite this Welbeck kind of concern at the moment, like he didn't start at Liverpool. So yeah, comfortably Krupi Jr. for me on that front. Drake Lorien says, free transfers, probably moving Eze to Semenyo or Sade for a short-term pump before bringing in Cunha. Who would you prefer? If you're taking that and it's just the 2 weeks into Cunha, then yeah, I would go Semenyo, mate. I guess the question on that would be, what happens if he gets suspended? Well, I think the answer to that is just buy Cunha next week. James OYC says, I have Welbeck and Thiago and only one bench player, Bruno Guimaraes, and no money in the bank. Would you do Welbeck to Nketiah for a guaranteed start / 1 week punt before Ekitike restructure next week, or just leave? Yeah, I mean, I probably would move Welbeck on under that circumstance. And Nketiah is another option. You do know he's going to play, and I guess Glasner's kind of give away at the moment that he's first choice. So I would imagine he starts at least the next two. Heavy links with Brennan Johnson yesterday for Crystal Palace, so I don't think that's a stable long-term choice. Short-term, yeah, I don't mind it. He's greedy that's good for fantasy. But 1234 says, hi James, who are your top 3 sub-8 midfielders for the long-term from next game week? Fernandes, Cunha, Sade, Szoboszlai suspension pending. Gakpo once he's back. Foden, obviously, Cherky. Mine, Jeremy Pino. I'm not sure I quite put him on that list from next week. But Declan Rice, another obviously really good one. Keep an eye on Pedro Neto. I think moving forward is beginning to appeal to me, actually. He's always a player I've never been particularly keen on, but he's beginning to add more goals to his game. There's a number for you, mate. Barlow2711 says, have you checked out NordVPN? No. Ken Hughes says, smash the like, people. How likely is Thiago going to play? Would you sell Minter for Pino or Cherky for 1 week punt? Otherwise, may get Szoboszlai for Spurs and beyond. So, yeah, I wouldn't run for Minter today. I think it'd be a challenging game for Sunderland after the North East derby, and then obviously kind of a third of the team going off to the African Cup of Nations. Cherky's not a short-term punt if you go there, though. Or is he? Like, if you're like, I haven't got Foden, I still want to work that out. Or I haven't got O'Reilly, I want to work that out. That's the danger of going Cherky, but he's the 4th best City option, so I don't mind it. Would I go Minter to Cherky this week? I'm not sure I would. Timing feels a bit off from that perspective, I think. Is Thiago going to play? I think so. I've got no intel on that, but I think him and Henderson were probably just given a break in midweek. That's my suspicion. They've been clear on that for the last couple of days. Adam Cooper says, hi James, got 1.4 million in a bank. Would you sell Rodon for O'Reilly this week or Elliot Anderson for Szoboszlai next week? Whoever I don't sell will be first, second sub most weeks. Best of luck this game week. I'd take the O'Reilly route personally. Sorry, your name is in a different language. I have a back three of Lacroix, VVD, O'Reilly. Who to bench if I do Burn to Calafiori or keep as is and save the transfer? From that, reluctantly, I'd probably bench Lacroix. I think you can replace Mark Gay on the bench in dilemmas with him. Priority would be Arsenal, then Liverpool, then Palace this week, generally speaking, unless you... Something like Klein's even worse, right? Or Joe Gomez would be even worse. I'd take the O'Reilly... no, that's the previous question. Bench Lacroix is the way I'd do that. Kieran Murphy says, hi James, play 3 and bench 1 of Anderson and Anderson, Szoboszlai and Thiago. It's just bench 1 would have been easy, my friend. Thank you. Elliot Anderson would be the one from that, mate. Also start for Verbruggen or Kelleher this week. Slight preference for Verbruggen based on my correct score predictions, mate. And unbelievably a little bit more reliability in Verbruggen than Kelleher. Jordan Williams says start one of Kiyode, Bruno Guimaraes, Stack and Goodmanson. Bruno Guimaraes, mate. KL says, morning James, with Newcastle's upcoming fixtures, who is the best mid to get? Would Bruno Guimaraes still be the best pick or Gordon/Barnes? Also, any interest in Hall or Pope, as I have sells for a keeper. You can't buy Pope yet, and you can't even be certain that Lewis Hall's going to start, although I do think that he probably will. So can't do anything with that at the moment. And yes, ultimately, Bruno Guimaraes, if I end up holding, that was part of the Semenyo Ekiteke influence as well, was, well, if I end up staying with Bruno Guimaraes, those fixtures are going to come back around. Although I suspect he probably won't start every game over this period. Mike Totti says, morning Jimbo, thanks for your amazing content this year. Simple question, Truffert or Elliot Anderson start today? Truffert with a fixture. Jacob Kennedy says, bring in O'Reilly and bench Bruno Guimaraes. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Jetty7 says, Pickford or Alisson for the long term? Pickford. Unfortunately, Alisson's injury proneness is so off-putting from a fantasy perspective. Jock Goats is playing Senesi, O'Reilly, Timber, VVD. I'm not reading that all out, mate. Gordon on my bench. Would you do Gordon and VVD to Saka and Goodmanson? What? I don't understand that, mate. Are you saying bring in VVD and Goodmanson? That question makes no sense. I'm really sorry, mate. Dara's Maguire says, morning, James. Best 5 million defender or keep Van de Ven. 1 free transfer and on bench boost. Under 5. At this moment, I'd probably go all the way to Alderete. It will come back for Sunderland, but also you probably therefore shouldn't rush that transfer. Joachim Anderson is an obvious boring one. But it might enable you a restructure where it's easier to get back to Gabriel in forthcoming weeks, for example. I just probably would go Alderete. He'll play the games, I think. He's only really Manchester City in Game Week 19 that looks a bit ugly, but it is still at home. And then I think the fixtures get better. Bar sort of a period, Game Week 25, they go to Arsenal. That's ages away, let's be real. So I'll just go Alderete, I think. Headley M says, hi James, have a Welbeck dilemma. Sell to upgrade King to Semenyo or hold and sell next week and play Richards instead. Sell to what though? You're still going to need to change something else, aren't you? Well, I'm guessing you've got money in the... You're talking about going Welbeck to Krupi. Like, can you go Welbeck to Bowen next week? If so, I'd probably hold it, but you're getting a bias from someone who prefers the front three structure. LP says, hi James, which game week would you switch Mateta to Bowen? Game week 18, 19 or 20? Cheers. I mean, God, Palace are playing Tottenham in 18, but probably in all seriousness, probably is that. It's just timing is right for Bowen. So look, I think a lot of that will also come down to watch Mateta tonight, see how he looks. Clearly, we've now got the information since Thursday afternoon that he has genuinely got a knee problem and is playing through it. So that's an injury waiting to happen, unfortunately. I've stressed so many times this season concerns about Palace and overplaying. Let's touch wood that doesn't end up becoming serious for him. So, yeah, most likely next week. You're not doing that this week. I think you got to take the chance of this week. Lee Thompson says, hi, James, 1 free transfer. Should I do Enzo to Semenyo? Wondering if holding the transfer is sensible call or is that too cautious? No flags or suspension risks in the team at the moment. Semenyo is short term. If you know it's short term, that's fine. How does it impact your other moves? Does it stop you something else if you use a transfer? I don't know how many frees you've got. And I guess the way you've labelled that, it's probably just one. Enzo Fernandez will come right back on radar. You may even find that when you get to Game Week 19, you just end up reversing that transfer. I think you're playing the 10 position today. Without a doubt, Semenyo is a better option. It's the impact of what's next. Is that worthwhile? So for me, I took a route to go, it's probably not for me, right? And I couldn't have added Gimrez to Semenyo, admittedly. The impact of the next move is quite important here. I mean, if you end up getting to 19 and conclude, I'm going back to Enzo Fernandez, like, is it a hold for Cunha? What's the impact of other transfers on if you make the move? On the face of it, of course, is Semenyo a better option than Enzo Fernandez this week? Yeah, sure. Abdul Hamid says, good day, James. On free hit, debating between O'Reilly, Calafiori, Saka, Richards, Tavernier, and Hincapi, Timber, Cherky, Sade, Truffer, have Raya in goal. Mate, I can't remember all that. It's 10 names for me to work out the differences. I did a free hit draft yesterday on the weekender. Just scanning it quickly, I'm kind of keen to say the Cherky and Sade route. Lorian says, have Thiago playing 4-3-3 with Lacroix, Bruno Gimrez first bench. Should I move Gimrez to Semenyo or Sade and bench Lacroix instead? Keeping FT will allow me to choose Everton, Liverpool, Man United in the coming weeks. Yeah, so exactly. So I probably wouldn't bother. Gimrez still home game. He's been very good in them. Pretty sure he scored in the fixture last year. Got good returns at home to Man City about a month ago. I'd leave it be, I think. Liam Doyle says, hi James, free transfer, 0.4 in the bank. Is Dewsbury Hall and Voltamade sold this week? And if so, who would you recommend? Hope you and the family have a great Xmas. Smash a like, everyone. So, you saying you've got 0.4 in the bank. So, Ekiteke is going to be a real struggle for you. So, I think at this stage now, it's probably Voltamade to Bowen next week. And give yourself time to work out what you want to do with Dewsbury Hall. Like, as I've said a few times this week, Alcaraz might even be the direct replacement option. you're probably not going to end up chasing Ekiteke unless you force down to like Lewis Miley, which is okay. I'd probably just leave that at the moment, probably, unless you can get Voltimade to Ekiteke and go Lewis Miley. I'm not quite sure if that works out financially. Probably not, following the price changes last night. So I'd probably leave it be. Tiffany says bench one out of Timber, Senesi, O'Reilly, Virgil. Much appreciated. Reluctantly, Virgil van Dijk. Highland Real says, hi mate, bench is currently Dubravka, Joachim Anderson, Elliot Anderson and Chow with Thiago starting. Would it be a better time for me to play bench boost? Like, probably not. Just scanning. It's Dubravka. Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a nothing. Chow, 19. I don't like leaving it for 19, mate. Don't like leaving it for 19. And then Joachim Anderson, way to Palace, okay. I think there's so much danger in leaving that to game week 19. If you're going to leave it to game week 19, you need to have 3 transfers in the bank. Otherwise, yeah, get it done. Yago says, hi James, my defenders are Saliba, VVD, Van Heck, Lacroix and Anderson. How would you order them this week too? Is it worth it to move any of them to O'Reilly with 4 free transfers? How would I order them? Well, VVD, Van Heck, Joachim Anderson, all on the bench in dilemmas. Replace Gay with Lacroix, and you can replace Timber with Saliba, and there you've got your order. Would I move any of them to O'Reilly this week? Probably not. The one I'd consider there is maybe Saliba. It sounds ridiculous when I've just ordered him top, but the thinking on that would be that what's the plan here for Gabriel? So could you go Saliba to O'Reilly now, take no Arsenal for a couple of weeks, and then move VVD to Gabriel once he's back as a possibility? But probably not. King of Mandalore says, can you order Joachim Anderson, Stack and Alderete in terms of who'd start, please? Yeah, the order you've written them. Choberto says, he's going against Arsenal defence too risky. That depends on the outcome, mate. I think with this week, with Ndiaye gone, Dewsbury Hall injured, no Idrissa Gana Gate either, if Arsenal go in front today, then Everton are going to find that difficult to break them down, I think. So personally, I wouldn't be keen to take it on. Carver says, no, sorry, I'll come to you in a second. Aidan Buckley says, hi James, what's your rationale for VVD over Bruno Guimaraes? Cheers. My rationale over that is I fancy Chelsea to win today. My other rationale on that is that I've owned Van Dijk for a really long time and I know that big haul is coming, and it will be sod's law for me that I bench it today and the haul is today. I've also backed Liverpool for a clean sheet. I think we may struggle to score today. I think the atmosphere on Tottenham Twitter has turned pretty toxic since Thomas Frank's some bizarre quotes in his press conference yesterday. And today reminds me of the hallmarks, actually, of Nuno's last game against Manchester United. That's how today is beginning to feel for me. I'm not suggesting he's going to necessarily get sacked tomorrow, but if our day goes as badly as that day went for Nuno, they're going to tell him today, because honestly, there's a broken relationship now. And I don't know if people on the outside quite realise that. So yeah, there's enough reasons to play Virgil van Dijk. Also, we go quite direct, so Defcons you'd expect in the bag as well. It's not like you play into Richarlison or Moani and the ball necessarily sticks there. It's only into Kudos where it sticks. So Van Dijk should win a lot of duels. He should be strong for Defcons today. I think there's a potential haul in there. Guimaraes, as I've said, I think it's absolutely fine for this week. And that's why I'm very happy him sitting there with first sub. If Thiago don't play and he comes in, yeah, I'm cool with that. But I fancy Chelsea to win today, actually. Carver says, hello, James. Welbeck out versus Rice, the headache for me. Your thoughts? Greetings from Greece. Comfortably played Declan Rice for me, mate. Murmur says, I like the stream, James. Thank you very much. As we approach 10:30 in the morning, just over half hour of deadline, a shout out to our patrons. Please drop me a tag on Slack, please, if we've got any information in terms of team news for the early kickoff, Newcastle v Chelsea, or anything else. And I will share it with the community. Please double check sources. I'm not anticipating anything before deadline Sorry, just reading the message. It's irrelevant. Steph and P says, hi, James. Would you play King or Alderete? Shit options. I know. Play Alderete, mate. If Sunderland have a good defensive day, there's Hall potential there. There is a chance that Josh King comes into the team on Monday night. But I've actually got, if Lukic doesn't make it, I've actually got Harrison Reed coming into the team. I thought he performed okay as a substitute at St James's in midweek. Jock Goat says, Gordon on my bench this game week. Would you sell him to Sade? Would mean that I have to bench VVD and Richards. I'm going to play Gordon over both of them anyway. Home fixture, despite what I've said. And he's on pens. That's a big difference here, right? I'd probably leave that be at this moment, I think. Adrian Fruck says, epic benching headache. Bench one of Rice, Raul Jimenez, Harry Wilson, or Thiago. From that lot, close between Rice and Wilson, I think. I'll put him as my player to blank this week. It does feel like that's Joe. Nico Williams will know his game really well, as I mentioned in that video. Everton have a set-piece problem that you've seen in games. Think of them Malik Chow and Mickey van der Ven returns. That's another reason to play the Arsenal defence today, I think. I think I'd bench Wilson from that, you know. I think so, yeah. Jack Lorian, name your best 5 mids for the next 6 game weeks if you would hold throughout. I feel like I had a very similar question on naming 8 midfielders, so I'm going to skip that, but thank you, mate. Ross Cordinley says, play Wilson or Voltemade. That would play Wilson. Or Voltemade to Mateta and play over Wilson. I don't think you can buy Mateta at this moment, mate. Not following that news on Thursday. Classy Citizen says, thoughts on 1 week punt, DCL on bench boost. So you're looking for a cheap forward, basically. For 1 week. Still prefer Jimenez. I know Calvert-Lewin's had a good little run. Calvert-Lewin, as long as he's come through training, okay, plays at the moment. That's quite clear. He's in good form at the moment. I want to say he scored in 4 in a row. I probably still prefer Jimenez on that route. Calvert-Lewin's just another transfer waiting to happen. I mean, Leeds fixtures actually are horrendous. And I was doing some stuff in my planner last night. They don't get better in January and February. I am Ross Kenny. Verbruggen or Dubravka, which would you start if it's not on the bench in dilemmas? That feels very, very straightforward to me. I own both. My team's top right-hand corner. It's Verbruggen, mate. LP says bench Rice, VVD or Jockey Manderson. Ignore on bench in dilemmas, Jockey Manderson. Tom Sleemer says, should I start De Kuyper this week? I don't have him in my predicted lineup. Sam Murray, our Brighton correspondent, does. He will know more about his team than I do. There wasn't anything in terms of bib information yesterday. I don't know what you'd be picking instead, Tom. Nigel Sam says, best 2 week punt in midfield under 7.2. Already have Wilson. Shirky, if that's affordable. I forget what price he is if you don't have the treble Man City. Otherwise, Kevin Sade is your guy, I think. King of Mandalore says, what's a better transfer? Dango to Mount or Gordon to Cunha? Could hide Dango on bench for a few game weeks. This, excuse me. Move that on, mate. Move Dango on. It's not going to play for you for a good while, mate, obviously. So, yeah, Mason Mount. Now I've taken the route not to go Cunha. Mason Mount's already kind of in my thoughts. I mean, Gordon's of more use to you to Dango. Surely you're not going to be on a treble up. I mean, you could end up with Fernandes, Cunha, and Mount. Which, I mean, if you're sitting there for game week 19, 20, 21, I'll see worse teams, I know. Daniel Evans says, hi James, Merry Christmas. What do you think to Mateta to Ekiteke on a free? Give the stream a like and subscribe, people. If that was me, I think I'd leave that this week now, particularly with the price change last night. I'd leave that be. Despite what I say about Tottenham, Mateta does have the better fixture this week. I'd hold fire on that and just roll through. And then, yes, probably next week. Probably you might need to go early. It's just something. If Ekiteke scores tonight, he's going to be absolutely steamed into before this Wolves game. Particularly if Isak shows nothing later. Next up is Jason still in start, Elliot Anderson or Chris Richards. Chris Richards, Jack Lorian, Semenyo, Sade or Rice for the next 3 or 4 game weeks. I'm going to say Kevin Sade. I'd punt it. Yeah, I know I sold the prick a couple of weeks ago, but there was a reason that I got him in on that wild card in the first place was Christmas looks good. And he won't be out the running for me coming into this week, honestly. He won't be out the running. Martin Aliaga says, hi, James. Richards and Dewsbury Hall out just to put O'Reilly in. Thoughts? Who's the other player you're putting in? But yeah, sure. Staffis says, hi, James. Is Verbruggen the best goalkeeper under 5 million? What about Sells? 4.6 after tonight. Thinking it's better to play Dubravka now and change Pope to Sells. But yeah, there's no guarantee that Sells starts. He has been in training, but I told you on Monday's podcast, John did quite well last week. I do think Sells will come back in, but I don't think you can buy Matt Sells at this way. What if you do if John plays again and he keeps another clean sheet? Oh, hella, big problem. So the answer I'm going to give at this moment in time is still the same for Bruggen or Sanchez. Jay Lee says, start Szoboszlai or Mrs. Puff. I don't know who Mrs. Puff is, mate, so I'm going to have to say Szoboszlai. Gareth says, hi, James. Wharton or Weaver for Dewsbury Hall. Wharton stats surprised me last 6 game weeks. 5 million max. Not keen on either of those choices, actually. I'd prefer you dropped it to Miley. Would probably be the one for me at this moment. Yeah, I wouldn't bother on that. Aaron Curl says, hi, James. Hello, Aaron. Andy Max says, need to free hit either 18 or 19. Team looks good for both game. Which do you think using it in 19 will be better as midweek and we can pivot around rotation better? Excuse me. That's a possibility, but not a certainty. It is team dependent, Andy. You're saying your team looks good in both weeks. Right. What's the huge differences between the 2 weeks? You go probably heavier on Manchester United in 19. You can still go heavy in Liverpool in 19 as well. Do you attract like Sunderland in 18 versus, say, I don't know, Newcastle looks better in 19 if you don't own much? Slight preference maybe for 19, maybe, but it does depend on probably a lot of the scrap bits. Chelsea's better for 19 than 18. So probably just about 19. Heather says, hey, James, happy Christmas. You think Thiago will start? The answer is yes, but no ITK on that. Staffy says, not sure he's better defence than Brighton's. That's in, yeah, previous. Stuart Day says, good morning, sir. On bench boost with free transfers, 0.0 in the bank. Would you hold Bruno Guimaraes or move to Cherky or alternative? Thanks and smash a like. If you're on a route that means you're blocked from Foden or O'Reilly or you don't want to go there, then yeah, I'd get Cherky in. Daniel Carr says, who would you start out of VVD, Voltamari and Minter? Just start one, thanks. I mean, if I've got Minter, I'm starting him. You'll find all 3 of those players on the bench in dilemmas anyway, Daniel. Real Nixter says, hi, James. Merry Christmas to you. Play Lacroix or Elliot Anderson. I'd play Lacroix. Matthew North says, who is the better long-term hold? Rice or Semenyo moving one on in game week 19? I don't know how we can view Semenyo as a long-term hold. If he rocks up at Manchester United and starts playing wing-back, how do you feel about him? Right, so if you're asking for a long-term, I can only say to you Declan Rice at this moment. Jack Lorien says, why are so many bigging up Tavernier when he's playing deeper? I actually think he's more advanced. He'll play more advanced today. He could be on pens. He's on a few of the set plays. He's got a great strike from distance. Why not? Why not? I tell you what, if you end up going and looking at Tavernier's stats versus Semenyo, you'll probably come to the conclusion of why is there 2 million difference between these 2 players. Shani Russell says, yes, Big Jimbo, you absolute legend. Fun fact, every second you rub the noggin directly equates to 10 additional FPL points. Thanks for the extra 40 points last week. Have a top weekend, mate. Well, I presume this is going to put me in the 200 club now, mate. David James Whiteway says, why do we overlook Pickford every season? Always the best goalkeeper. We'll put him in then, mate. It's only Arsenal today. Chris Davis says, hi, James. Hope you're well. Dewsbury Hall to Tavernier or Wilson, or play Jockey Manderson and roll to 4 transfers for more flexibility next week. Flexibility. Because if you're not sure, I think with that at the moment, it's like I couldn't make a decision on what to do on a Dewsbury Hall replacement. I thought, let's take a bit more information this week. If you're not sure where to go, I'd leave that be. However, at the same time, the 2 players you're buying significantly improve your squad. Does that improve your team? As I've said, I probably wouldn't chase Wilson at this point, but I do think with those 2 players, like they've both got 2 good fixtures, then it gets quite rough. If you've got a good team this week anyway, I think I'd leave it. Ive Logokoff says start one Enzo Welbeck Vandenberg. Enzo Fernandez from that, mate. Next up is Shafwan says, hi James, would you do Bruno Guimaraes to Cherky? It allows me to go up to Chalobah Riley to replace Burn next week. Yeah, as said recently for someone else. Next up is Alex Price. Well, so I appreciate Haaland is the obvious captaincy candidate. Would you be at all tempted to go against him? I've had a gut feeling a week on Foden. No. I can only answer that in the way it's been questioned. No. Haaland's kind of dead to the game this week unless you're on triple captaincy, I think. So, no. I always need a good reason to argue against, and West Ham is not it. Nigel Sam says, bench one of Rodgers, Minter and Wilson. Good luck, James. Thanks for your content. Minter. David Tillstone says, Dewsbury Hall to Rutter, Tavernier or Wilson, 1 week punt and keep 5 free transfers. Okay, we're in the 1 week punt territory. The answer is Tavernier, mate. Cole Sliffer says, hi James, thanks for the content this year. Have a great Christmas with the family. You too, Cole. Much appreciated for your support. Smash a like, everyone. Happy Christmas. John Bright says, oh, he's lost his place in the chat. Don't worry, I will find you. John Bright says, morning James. Have Madueke and regretting it. Is he worth keeping for the Everton game or should I get rid now? Replacement would need to be 6.9 or below. Yeah, Sade would have been the call, I think, here. I'd be very surprised if he starts. Didn't even get off the bench against Wolves, did he? He's a really good player. Not a fantasy option at the moment, no. Cherky, if you're not on the free city. Otherwise, you've got to come down into like that Tavernier Wilson zone or all the way down. But yeah, it's not a reason to keep him. I guess if you don't know where you want to go, and it's a case of, right, you've got like 1 free transfer and it's going to take you up to 2 next week, then you've got more flexibility to, oh, okay, I'll aim for Cunha, I'll downgrade this player $1 million down or something like that. If that's the circumstance, then I'd probably wait, but you'd be a huge surprise if he started. Aidan Kavanagh says, hi James, if you had to pick one, who would you play in the Anderson derby? Joachim, they're right next to each other on the bench in dilemmas, mate. Jacob Frost, hi James, 2 transfers with VVD, Anderson, Richards, Senesi. Would you transfer Anderson to O'Reilly or Roll? I'd do it. Ham 34 says, morning sir, would you bench Gay or Anderson? They're both on the bench in dilemmas, mate. Manish says, who's the bench? Virgil, Rice or Anderson? 19 Jared says, all the best for this game. We're in the festive period, James, to you and the family and to you too. Not necessarily for this week, but I'm considering Dewsbury Hall to Verts maybe for the next couple, then chain that to Cunha. I'm pleased that hasn't got a question mark on it. My advice on that, by the way, would be just go straight to Cunha. Daniel says, morning, James. Who's the bench out of Neto and Van Dijk? Close to that. Neto, just about. I mean, still, it's a tough away game, isn't it? Richard Saunders says, 69 likes. It hurts me to turn it to 70, but thanks for the algo. Yes, smash a like, please, everybody. Would be very, very much appreciated. What percentage of you have smashed a like? Oh, it's poor. Oh, guys, come on. It's Christmas. It's like not even 25% of you have smashed a like. Proper disappointed. Reminder to our patrons, anything on team news, drop me a tag on Slack. Thank you for your continued support. Reminder, everyone gets bumped up a tier in December. Even free patrons are get free. It doesn't cost you nothing to get in a podcast every week in December. J. Lobrowski says, morning, James. Bit worse for the wearers. Works due last night. No question. Just want to say Merry Christmas to all and hope all arrows are green. Thank you, brother. You too. Lorenzo says, just wanted to say good luck, James. The streams, the GOAT of Deadline streams. Happy Christmas. All the best for New Year. Thank you. Matt R. Tucker says, Merry Christmas, James. Want to transfer out Dewsbury Hall. 6.6 million in the bank. A rogue 1 week punt. Wildcard next week. Smashing the light, people. I mean, with that money in the bank, I'd be very tempted just to put Saka in. Yeah, honestly, I would. The options at the top level aren't great this week. So, I mean, if it's not that, then it's Semenyo. If you don't have a third city, then Ryan Cherky. Sade, I mean, I suppose if you want to go rogue, it's that, isn't it? Decent for 1 week. Marcus Tavernier, another one. Gareth P says, morning James, playing a no Haaland game this season, still have triple cap to use. Foden this week, game week 18 Ekitike versus Wolves, or game week 19 Bruno Fernandes versus Wolves. Bruno Fernandes for me from that, I think. Here's the thing, with the captaincy, you're putting them three options in front of me, and if you said to me just subconsciously, which one are you most likely to take Haaland on with, just generally with a captaincy, my answer clearly would be Bruno Fernandes. So that's the one I'm going to say. Liam Doyle says, hi James, is Garnacho on your radar? Absolutely not. No, I don't think he starts today. And I see Gary Mantlewood's the same predicted lineup for me. So we think Palmer probably on the right today, Neto left, Enzo Fernandez 10 behind João Pedro. You got Delap coming back. Esteval's injured this week, coming back. Nowhere near it, mate. Ryan Max says, hi James, play Klein or Elliot Anderson. Cheers, mate. Smash a like, join the Patreon, be good to yourselves. Slight preference with Klein. Next up is Iron Cupboard. I've got a ringing in my ear. That's really annoying. Iron Cupboard says, not do you care? Do you think -2 for a Miss Pen would be a good idea? It already is. Or have I missed something on that? Simon Baker says, start VVD or Damsgaard. The problem is, Matthias Jensen's seen a few more minutes recently. I do think Damsgaard starts, but I don't think it's certainty. So by default, it's got to be VVD, I think. FPL Ibro says, hi James, good luck this game week. Chow or Estev this week? I'd be chancing Chow at home. Aston Villa 57 says, hi James, first time listener, really enjoying the podcast. Reckon Villa are worth a tenner for the title. They look great to me. That looks like a picture of Lee Jackson. Welcome to the show. Dan says, hi James, would you play Thiago or Harry Wilson? Thiago all day long. Yeah, I don't get spooked by the flag. Just make sure you got your bench order right. Dan says, hi James, I've done that. David Matthias says, hi James, great channel. Play Keller or Allison. Happy Christmas. Oh God, I think that one is a Keller, isn't it? I think probably. Dr. Bert Young says, do we lose all current chips in January? Is this a new thing this year? Yeah, mate. So if you got any chips left, make sure you use them by game week 19. Then you get them all again. So throw shit, mate. Showbit says, DCL, Dubravka, Chow, Goodmanson on bench. Should I bench boost or wait? I have Thiago in starting 11. Problem is them next two Leeds fixtures are pretty ugly, aren't they? Not that this week's great. Chow 19 is better, but I've spoken about the dangers of that. That's also might even be the best one for Dubravka as well, 18 or 19. I think I'm getting rid of that this week, probably, mate. It's not, when I look ahead at the one earlier was a bit more, okay, if you've got the cover, maybe 19. Yours a little less so, I think, so I probably would get it done, mate. Cyrus says, thanks James and team for all your free content. You're very welcome. Cremoso says, hi James, play one Ekiteke or Thiago. That's not the question, mate, because the answer is somebody else. Play them both. Voyus Vertus says, hey James, thoughts about using your second bench boost soon after we get it out the way? Which game would you suggest if I want to use it soon? The answer to that is don't. It'd be more useful for you later in the season, mate, truthfully. Listen to the bit I did on the weekend there yesterday. The end of the season might look better than it did last season. No guarantee. It's early doors. But that's a possibility. I wouldn't be running to anything. Just forget about it. Forget about it. Because the chances are you're going to wildcard again before that next bench. But forget about it. If something lands great and you're like, I want to play it. Cool. Get it out your mind, mate. Voice Vertus says, hey James, thoughts about I've done. Motta says, bro, when you coming down the gym, bro, when I have an operation on my back. Chris Grace, and even then I'm not. I am Jim to some people. Chris Gray says, hi James, I'm going slight differential with triple captain Foden instead of Haaland. I wish you luck. Omrali Aaron says, hey James, Thiago and Xhaka out for Krupi and Cherky this week, or roll and do it next week just to double doubts with Thiago. If he starts, probably not even 90, so maybe not to miss out on Cherky this week. Leave it be, mate. I'd leave it be. Stuart G says, bench Van Dijk or Tavernier. Can't decide. Good luck all. If I've got Tavernier and I'm not playing him at home to Burnley, There you go. There's your answer. Il Lorenzo, do you think Semenyo has been overhyped given most wanted to sell only a week or two ago? No. 2 brilliant fixtures. And he's cheaper in price now. And I think people know that they're lining that up for a next move. If you free hit this week, I've got him as the best captaincy outside of Manchester City this week. So, no, it's fine. And as part of that, he's got a good fixture. A lot of other players do not. Hey, Siri2 says, hey, mate, Dubravka, Elliot Anderson, Joe Rodon, Michele bench boost or wait for one more week? Again, I'm probably just doing that, I think. Bazit Ralph says, hi, mate, start 2 of Mateta, Rice, VVD and Bruno Guimaraes. Mateta and Rice. Andrew Sands says, if they need to do anything, how do FPL towers make captaincy more interesting? My idea, we couldn't captain the same players in consecutive weeks. It's too much for the average player when they smash a button. Why can't I captain this player this week? Okay, the game is for the masses. It's not for us. Also, here's an interesting point. If Erling Haaland got injured in midweek, who would you captain this week? Boom, game wide open. Yeah, just the way it's gone. It's no one's fault, mate. Those who took on Salah in the springtime last year probably did quite well out of it, and in the springtime. So your timing is right in terms of when you do it. Jordan Murphy says, what's the advantage of banking your transfers, particularly at the moment? Flexibility. Players likely to get rotated over the Christmas period. If you're not sure where you want to go, also, potential for swinging fixtures. Look at things like Chelsea once you get into January, for example. Arsenal comes back around. Nottingham Forest actually coming to a good run of fixtures game at 23. Everton from next week. Bowen, Ekiteke, stronger from next week. There's infinite reasons, mate. Anik says, bench Rodon or Chow? Probably play Chow just because St James's Park factor. But honestly, you might as well flip a coin, mate. Abdul says, narrowed it down to Cherki, Sade, Hincapi, or Saka, Tavernier, O'Reilly. I don't know what this is in relation to, mate. Boom, once I've done your question, I've moved on. Option A, probably from that. John Malik says, bench 1 between Richards, Elliot Anderson. I presume that's Elliot Anderson, Virgil and Enzo. I'm going to say Elliot Anderson. Jumpers for goalposts. Start Chalobah if you want to, mate. Cameron Cross says, if Raul Jimenez was in bench dilemmas, would be above or below Wilson? Above. Yeah, honestly. Michael Bayer says, hi James, what are your thoughts on Cash and Villa defence? Yeah, I put Matty Cash in a free hit draft yesterday, but in terms of buying, absolutely no interest, mate. Jordan Murphy, pizza or pasta? Pasta doesn't impact me as badly. John Malik says, bench 1 between... I've already done that, haven't I? Andrew Sands, game at 21 feels pivotal as it will be time, maybe, to move Bruno to Palmer and having Palmer as a possible alternative captain to Haaland. Your thoughts, please? My thoughts are we need Cole Palmer to prove his fitness. Because Chelsea now, in January and moving into February, are going to have midweek games all the time. That includes 2 Champions League games and a Carabao Cup semi-final, 2 legs against Arsenal or Crystal Palace. I don't know what route Chelsea take when their Premier League fixtures begin to ease up. I mean, that's annoying from a captaincy perspective. So he's got to prove his fitness, mate. Defo Lee Sharp says, good luck this week, James. That Voltamati price drop has scuppered my plans rolling this week now, considering free hit this week rather than 19. I wouldn't change strategy this close to deadline, mate. Sorry, I did miss one out. Kof Khan, hi James. Hope you're doing well. So is Thiago to Ekiteke worth it? My bench is good. Is Stev. Ciao. Smash that like button, everybody. Good luck. Still wouldn't do it personally. Foxtrot says, risk Welbeck to start. Joachim Anderson in defence. I'd go Anderson, I think, with the info we've got at this moment, I'd say. Next up is... John Malik. How many times, please, buddy? I'll get to your question or I won't, pal. Snorri Haradason. Sell Dewsbury Hall for Wilson to bench Richards or roll. I think if you don't know that you want that with Wilson, it's roll. I think another price rise last night. I think playing Richards this week is okay, mate. Kirky says start Senesi, Hall or cash Senesi, mate. Michael Linda says, hi James, bench one of Rice, Wilson, Thiago, Cunha. Cheers. I'm going to say Cunha. Yep. Undercover says, Merry Christmas, James. Thanks for the content this year. You have Gay ahead of Enzo in the benching dilemmas. Would the same apply for Lacroix over Enzo? Yes, it would, mate. Howard Green says, would good to listen to Money in Football again the other day, reminding me of Patreon days. Well, join back on Patreon. And if you want to listen to that Money in Football podcast, it's free. You just have to sign up on Patreon as a free member. No cash, no catch. You can listen to it. Me and Suj ranting about FIFA. Hey Siri 2 says, hey James, Anderson, Wilson, Michele, Anderson start 2. So Harry Wilson and probably Joachim Anderson, probably, the 2 Fulham players, I'd say. Super Gamer says, hi James, do I get rid of Chris Richards or Joachim Anderson for O'Reilly just to keep them both? What do you mean just to keep them both, mate? How do I get rid of Chris Richards or Joachim Anderson for O'Reilly or just keep them both? I'm not sure. Are you saying you need to downgrade one to upgrade the other? I mean, at this stage, I'd probably be Joachim Anderson. I'd move on of the 2, maybe. Don't know. Well, maybe not. Joachim's more reliable, isn't it, from a DEFCON perspective? Palace's fixtures long term pretty good. Better than Fulham's. That's all. And I'm a fixture head. But I'm not sure what you mean about keep them both. Teram, but it's fine if you want to keep them. They're okay assets. Teram Jed says, hi James, with 2 transfers, would you buy Semenyo for Gordon? Yeah, I'd be tempted by that, I think. Unless you think Gordon is a long-term hold. AC Milan closing on a deal to sign Nicholas Füllkrug, according to Fabrizio Romano. 4 minutes to deadline, guys. Smash a like. For a reminder to our patrons, obviously, if we have got anything on team news, please drop me a share. And we'll get it shared in here, but not expecting anything at this stage. Iron Cupboard now wants to know, what about -3 from his pen? No, it's fine as it is. Yash B says 4 free transfers. Cunha to Semenyo for 1 week and reverse it next week. Worth it. Thank you. Nah, I still think you get more value out of the transfers later on. Just stay with Cunha at this moment. You're ahead. Il Lorenzo says, is Alderete still a decent budget enabler to free funds for Ekiteke? A bone move? Yeah, he's fine. Gary Robinson says, captaincy doesn't need making more interesting. Haaland has blanked in half his last 8 games. People just need to dare to take him on with Bruno, Ekiteke, etc. Lavitan Rambin Naf says, damn, you missed my question. Not intentionally. Drop it in the chat again now and I'll cover it. George Baker says, hi James, best bench Welbeck or Virgil? It's Welbeck, unfortunately. Il Lorenzo, there's no better content than a James and Sudge rant. You know it. Yeah, Tottenham, that's not free this week. Couldn't be. David Matthias says, triple cap Haaland this week or Fernandes against Wolves. Go Haaland now. Sinews says, why Ekiteke vice captain's better than Foden? It's just not having 2 players from the same game, mate. Simple as that. Something happens and the game gets abandoned unexpectedly. I've got a captaincy in a different game. I don't like captain 2 players, as in captain and vice captain from the same team. Simple as that. Foden, for me, is the best alternative captain to Haaland this week. Saturday says, Gameweek 18, question of exact money to go Semenyo to Cunha. If it looks like prices are going to move against me, would you just get it done or let it go? Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. But if you're on Semenyo, you don't get booked this way. I'm not running away from him for Brentford away. Lavitran Binav, who should I replace Boomer with? Have 3 million in the bank. Depends how many free transfers you've got. So Cunha is the one in that range that I would have really on radar for after this week. So if you've got like 4 frees and you want to jump to Semenyo for a couple of weeks and then move on, I would. I probably wouldn't go Saka under that circumstance at this moment in time. Keep an awareness of what you want to do with people like Gabriel might return. Are you thinking about Palmer longer term? But the honest answer for me is the one that I would want over Christmas is Matthias Cunha. But if you want to buy something else first before going there, that's okay. Taras says, start Petrovic or Verbruggen. I'm starting Senesi. They're both on the bench in dilemmas, mate. Page 5. I've actually got Verbruggen based on my correct score predictions. Chanel says, start Bruno Guimaraes or Joachim Anderson. I'm going to go Bruno Guimaraes. Jock Goat says, start Virgil van Dijk or Richards. Virgil van Dijk. Yeah, I mean, I've got him above Gay, Lacroix on the bench in dilemmas. Lever transfers, understood. Thanks, mate. Good luck for this week. You too. We're a minute from deadline. That's the questions covered. Very best of luck, everyone. Nothing in terms of team news as far as I can see. Make sure you're getting your teams locked in. Just a reminder, if you've got Mo Salah, please sell him. He's at AFCON. AFCON, by the way, you've got players potentially missing sort of 4 or 5 weeks here, even if they don't go that far, as in game weeks. 1 minute to deadline. There is nothing on team news as far as I can see, guys, for the early Newcastle-Chelsea kickoff. And we're good. Everyone's covered. Everyone's happy. If you're happy, smash a like. Hit a sub. We've got about 50% of you have smashed a like now, so that's so much better. I did work out, by the way, how to turn off the super chat. Oh, I want a super chat, James. What's the point? I answer all your questions anyway. Deadline is gone. For those of you who came just for the FPL stuff, smash a like, hit the sub button. Have a great weekend. For those who've got any non-FPL questions, drop them in the chat. I'll cover them off until we get the team news. What I'm pretty confident that we probably know roughly what the Newcastle-Chelsea teams are going to be today. Content. As I said, if you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Free members have access to a podcast every week in December. Yes, free members. That includes Money in Football that was just done. Basic tier patrons who normally have access to no ads content have access to all the podcasts in December. All of them. Basic plus tier patrons who also would normally have access to Slack and my planner also get all the podcasts this month. Intermediate plus tier patrons will have access to all the advanced tier content in December. Advanced tier patrons have access to more 5 minutes added on, Zoom calls with me, etc. It's a giveaway in December. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. My DMs are open if anyone has any questions about Patreon. You can also sign up as a free member, take the podcasts that are available in December, have a look at the best bits, which is available on Fridays, give you a feel of some of the content behind the scenes as well. www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Buy me a Christmas present. Yep, freeloaders. Content next week is going to look a bit different. Obviously, it's Christmas week. So game review, this is the free content available to everyone. Game review podcast on Monday. Ask James on Tuesday this week. Clash of Correspondence Wednesday, scheduled Nottingham Forest versus Manchester City with Mark Southerns and Johnny Pringle. No content Christmas Day, forgive me. And then Boxing Day, there will be a deadline stream for you all as well. 5:30 p.m. UK time, I believe. On Patreon, plenty more going on. So we've got a Q&A podcast Monday. Tottenham will go out on Tuesday. Our differential show, Game Week 18 preview, will go out on Wednesday. There'll also be plenty of advanced tier content, which is also available to intermediates this month. Just need to decide on the schedule. But it will certainly include a team news stream next Friday afternoon prior to the deadline stream as well. I am hopeful. We don't know, but I'm hopeful that most managers will do a press conference on Boxing Day. So information might be better than what it normally is for a Boxing Day set of fixtures, actually, intriguingly, this year. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Right, what's the non-FPL questions? Louis says, have you been watching the Ashes? No. I know that England had been taking a tanking. Couldn't tell you what the overnight score was. Don't know if the test is even over. No clue, mate. No interest when it's on at those hours. None. Diljit says, post-deadline questions. Smash the like and have a great weekend. Who are you supporting for the darts? I've not seen a lot of it so far this year. I'm probably a bit of a glory hunter from that perspective. I'll start watching it the final week and stuff properly. I did catch bits of Friday, mainly through highlights back rather than actually watching it live. I don't have a personal favourite. There's a few in there I don't like. It's probably easier to say. So no, it's just good fun, isn't it? I think we all kind of like Littler at the moment, but I think that might change over time. Might get a bit bored of him winning. Voda, there's one more I've missed there. Ollie says, thoughts on Cena's last match. So I didn't watch it, but actually I thought it was very well done. I know there was a lot of reaction online to like, oh, you can't have him. It was fairly obvious to me. I said on this stream last week, I said he'll lose because I knew that's what he would want on his way out, was to promote someone else. It's widely generally viewed that like you go out on your back, right, and you give someone else the rub on the way out the door. So I was fairly certain he was going to lose. I thought the way they did it was quite clever. Cena's explained that away. A little bit morbid, but okay, I get that. So yeah, I thought it was quite nicely done. It's different. You'd expect that sort of thing to normally happen in terms of WrestleMania, the way they did it. He'd explained that that's what everyone else does. He wanted to do it in a different way. Fair dues. I think the whole run was disappointing. Like when they did the heel turn, it should have ended up much better than it was. But the actual conclusion last week, it's absolutely fine as far as I was concerned. Border Roller says, "What's your greatest sporting achievement?" What's my greatest sporting achievement? I suppose probably when I flipped the ball over Ben Crellin's head and showboated. My greatest sporting achievement, winning plenty of trophies when I played for kids teams and stuff. So it would be them, mate. Snorri Haridison says, "Thanks for the stream. Good luck for the game week. My most listened to content 2025. Keep up the great work. I shall try my best." Yago says, "Have you seen any good movies this year, or no time for anything besides football?" I couldn't tell you last time I watched a film. Not a clue. I don't even know what it was. Couldn't tell you. I'm not even joking. No. I genuinely have no idea what the last film I watched was. It's certainly not recently. Stranger Things, I watched the 4 episodes after we lost to Fulham because I had no time to. I sat up till 4:30 in the morning and watched it because the wife was away with a little man that night at his granddad's, and I didn't really want to watch any more football after that shambles. And they're probably going to be away on the 27th probably as well, so I'll be able to catch up on the next bit then as well. Otherwise, no time, mate. No, please don't feel sorry for me. Amber Redmond says, "When did you last get asked a question you didn't know the answer to?" Right now. Right now, mate. Right now. Gillian Wheaton says, "What is the best present that Santa ever bought you? Happy Christmas to you and yours. Hope Santa is good to Harry." He's got to be a good boy, hasn't he? He's getting all sorts of Santa threats at the moment. Oh, Santa don't like that. Sorry. That's right, mate. What's the best Christmas present I've ever got? Probably be, to be honest, probably like Tottenham stuff, like kits and stuff like that when I was a kid, probably. I think so. Yeah. I think as well for me, because my birthday is in mid-December, Christmas was never so much of a fuss thing. Like, I don't think my parents too often held something back from my birthday for then Christmas. Not in terms of, like, if I got a PlayStation or something, I was probably getting it for my birthday rather than it being held for Christmas, if that makes sense. Jock Goat says, "Didn't get a chance to check out Thomas Frank's presser, mate. What did he say to rile up the Spurs fans?" So, I'll read you a couple of bits, if I may. He said, and I watched it, "There will always be fans questioning the coach wherever you are. Then there will be the loyal ones that can see the perspective." So now you're telling me that I can't see perspective? Because I'll be there long after you're gone, mate. Yeah, he's beginning to say some things like, "What are you doing?" It's what I said to our patrons yesterday. I said, "You need to take the microphone off him." He's saying things he does not understand the size of the football club. He's saying things that are really getting the fans' backs up. You do no need to say that. Just say, "Yeah, some fans will support you, some will always be critical." That's it. He's then gone down a route again. "Well, the loyal ones will understand what's going on and what I'm trying." No, the loyal ones are going home and away and can see how shit this is, mate. Like, yeah. Not good. Not good. Yeah, that's what I said. He's beginning to alienate people. Here's another one from yesterday, which came out in embargoed quotes. He was asked about the poor form against Liverpool last season. So Tottenham, what did he consider, 16 goals across 4 games, and there was a clean sheet in one of them as well in the League Cup semi-first. He was asked about the performance against Liverpool last year. He said, "We conceded a few goals in those games. Probably a good idea to also defend a bit. I think that's fair." Sorry, mate. We just got tanked 3-0 at Nottingham Forest, 4-1 at Arsenal. We conceded 5 in Paris. How about attacking a bit? Like, that's what I'm saying. So then that feels like you're digging out the previous manager a little bit. And I think, listen, we would agree. Well, I say we would agree. Most of us know it was right that Ange was sacked. But there is obviously a little sentimental thing there. All right, he got his trophy. Just let that go now. A little bit of dig out at Ange felt like, oh, you didn't defend. Try attacking, mate. And actually, your way of playing ain't working at the moment either. So that's what I said, mate. It's rubbing bad. If they're terrible tonight, the atmosphere is going to turn in the ground, I think, quite bad. Now, there's a chance to turn that around because naturally, I think by playing an opponent by Liverpool, like Liverpool, people are up for it in the first instance. But some of the stuff he's been saying recently involving the crowd has begun to really piss me off and others. So, yeah, you already know my feelings on him by now, I think. He's gone from a point a couple of weeks ago where I felt nothing for him. It's like, I don't like him, I don't dislike him. I'm just kind of in a nowhere space with him. Now he's becoming quite dislikable now. And I think the majority of the crowd is beginning to feel the same. So you're going to get a turn if shit don't improve very, very quickly. Next up is Gillian Wheaton. What is the best present? I've done that one, haven't I? BT says, do you reckon Semenyo will go in Jan? If so, well, yeah, I think he'll probably be going like first week. Really early, I think. It might be that he drags. We know that this clause is in place. I think it's got to be activated by the 10th. So it might be that the league games go and then they get it sorted like over FA Cup 3rd round weekend, possible. I think it'll go to Liverpool. Is the most likely destination, I think, at this point. I did think it was going to be Arsenal, but it sounds like Arsenal are not pushing for it at the moment. If he picks Manchester United, I don't understand. So Liverpool or City, and I think there's an opportunity there where, okay, right, what's happening with Mo? He goes in there. They need a new winger. It's definitely an upgrade on Gakpo anyway, whatever you think of Mo's future. So I think you go to Liverpool, mate. GB30 says, who is the likeliest manager to get sacked next in your opinion? Which you're just listening to me. I don't know the odds at the moment, but yeah. I think it could like that today. Yeah. If it gets poisonous in that ground. Yeah. Once it hits you don't know what you're doing, and we're a step away from that. I told you so many hallmarks today, I feel, of the day that Manchester United came and it was Nuno's last game. And the crowd turned and it was like a kind of similar, I mean, it was earlier in the season, but both teams were struggling and Liverpool had, 5 unbeaten, but by their levels obviously kind of been struggling this season. So there's pressure on both. Me and David joked about this yesterday, whichever team loses is the crisis club. There was a point today where if they're losing badly and don't play well and don't attack well, the crowd is going to turn. And it might, I hope that don't happen. I hope we win today, and I hope we go on a run of form, and I fall in love with the guy, and he proves me wrong and stuff like that. But I think we could be looking at a position by the end of today. We're going, he's going to go. I think so. It's possible because if the whole crowd turns, the damage to win that back is too much. Now the timing, by the way, is awful. Coming into Christmas fixtures. But if the mood is that bad, and if the players, some of the stuff I've seen recently, like at Forest, you go, are they on board with this? Let's see. Look, I hope we win today. I hope we play brilliant football. I hope afterwards, I hope on Monday I'm sitting there and I'm going, that was great from Thomas Frank. And listen, when he does good stuff, I'll tell you, the setup in Paris was really good and it was brave. I really appreciated that, even though we got slapped. And when I was mentioning those goals we conceded, almost reluctant to put those 5 in against PSG because I loved the intent of the way that we tried to play that football match off the ball. I spoke about it afterwards. Now show me bravery. It's gone backwards again since. Be brave. I know Liverpool are better than me. Please just be brave. It's too shy at the moment to be anything different. Please go and be brave. I don't even think his team selection is going to be brave today. We'll see what happens. Dan Bianconi says, I've seen Spurs linked with a potential move for Marmoush in January. Do you reckon there's anything in these links? And if so, how would you welcome the move? There's definitely Tottenham City talks going on. We've nicked someone behind the scenes from them. We've taken a couple of academy players from them over the recent years. There was Savinho links in winter. So there's obviously a little bit of a relationship between the two clubs potentially at the moment, which is probably just Manchester City waiting to take Mickey van der Ven or something probably. Like Marmoush. Likes a shot from anywhere, so don't quite know how he fits in with a Thomas Frank team that doesn't want to shoot from anywhere. Yeah, like him. I'm surprised how little minutes he's had this season, personally. I think probably would be an upgrade on what we've got. I've got bigger problems though. I need a central midfield player. Badly. Cole Sliffer says, Newcastle seem to be struggling patterns of play and attack. If this is Howe's last season, who do you think would be a good replacement in the summer? For Newcastle, Newcastle will be careful here because I think I associate them with quality of football and exciting play, etc. Diego Simeone's name's been linked a lot, but he's been at Atletico how long? Unai Emery's name I've seen mentioned. If he doesn't feel like he can progress Villa on at the moment, I don't think at this moment in time he probably don't make that jump. And it's probably even rude to Villa fans to even call that a jump because I'm not sure it is. But what I mean is the money that's in the background, if they can spend it, etc. And they should be able to now to a certain degree. The Isak Sal, they were on the right side of PSR anyway. Be careful, Newcastle. I don't think they should appoint necessarily a negative manager. And they also maybe need to decide what they want to be. Do they want to be a team that's going to go right to the top? Or having tasted the trophy element, do they want to kind of be like a cup team? I think if you'd said when the takeover happened, you said, I probably expect Newcastle to be challenging for the title right now. Shouldn't be in the bottom half. Shouldn't be in the bottom half. Carver says, why Spurs have so many problems with managers? Merry Christmas. Spurs are part of the problem. I'm not arguing that. Obviously, the ownership model was changed very recently. Jack says, will you watch a film on Christmas Day? If so, what's it likely to be? Whatever Harry chooses, if so. Jonathan says, would be interested to know what you think of Wirtz if he plays today. Everyone keeps telling me he's a generational talent. Struggling to see it myself so far. Maybe just needs a season first. All right, talk about him Monday. Let's have a look at these teams, which I presume are now in. So the Newcastle lineup is, drum roll, Lewis Hall plays. They've done it in number order, very thankfully. So probably headline one here. The one that's different to what I had was Ramsey playing instead of Joel Linton. So looks like it's Ramsey, Miley, Shaw, Cher, Hall, Tonali, Gimrez, and Ramsey, Voltamade, Murphy, and Gordon. The Chelsea lineup, I will get to in a second, is Garnacho starts and Neto. No Enzo Fernandez in the Chelsea starting lineup. He's a substitute. Surprised by that. So it's Sanchez, Gusto, Chalobah, Fofana, Cucurella, Reece James and Caicedo, like they normally like to do in these games. Neto, Palmer and Garnacho. João Pedro, Enzo Fernandez, only a sub. I'm very surprised by that. Okay. BT11 says, best Xmas movie and why is it Die Hard? Yeah, it's Die Hard because I like my pay increases from Suj, so don't upset Suj over Christmas. Andrew Baker says, are you tracking your score predictions? What percentage do you get right? I'll do a piece on it at the end of the season, which I did last year. Can't remember all the data. Brighton was my worst one by a mile, by the way, Mr. Jekyll and Hyde. In terms of how I'm tracking this season, I have no idea. Probably not great, I think. Aaron Cole says, if Arsenal win the league and Sunderland qualify for Conference League, who wins manager of the season? Arteta. If Sunderland qualify for the Champions League, or different conversation. And listen, that's an amazing achievement from Regis Debray. But the answer is Arsenal. Arsenal haven't won a title for 20 plus years. So that's the answer. Jay Loveshank says, used all 5 free transfers last Saturday after lads' Christmas meal. Listened a week for confirmation bias only. Anyhow, enjoy the weekend, mate. You too, mate. BT11 says, top 5, bottom 3 in the Prem. Prognosticators. I don't know if it's meant to be. I don't know what that means, if that's a word. I don't know if you mean predictions. So, top 5 straightforward: Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Villa, Liverpool. Bottom 3, Wolves, Burnley, and I still think it'll be Leeds, unfortunately. Dominic Jervis says, Frank has always been a gaslighter. When I've heard him after games, I've always thought, what game were you watching? I wouldn't say out of his depth. He's just not the right person for my job. James Bennett says, hi James, would you take Howe at Spurs? It'd be an improvement. I think the problem with Eddie Howe is, and Newcastle fans probably tell this, is a concern about playing 3 games a week to get the best out of it. But I definitely think Tottenham would play better football and have an uptick under Eddie Howe. The concern is the 3 games a week stuff. I have those same concerns with like Andoni Iraola as well, and a number of other managers. Need a manager that's good for that, but can also play good front-footed football. Wilshire says, is managing Spurs more difficult than other clubs of a similar size? I don't know how to equate that, really. I'm not really sure. I mean, expectation around other clubs would be similar, right? Like we have a will to push on and be better, right? Like most of whatever people's objectives are, most football fans want to achieve better than what they are, right? I don't think ours at the moment, in terms of trying to challenge for a Champions League place, is not unrealistic, and obviously want to be in contendership to win cup trophies. That's it at the moment. First and foremost, I want more than that then afterwards, but level 1 first. Is it more difficult at Spurs? No, I don't see why it would be. King of Mandalore says, I think Sunderland overperforming their expected league position by 10 plus places, a far bigger managerial achievement than Arsenal just doing it by 1 or 2. Yeah, but Arsenal can't do it by 10, can they? True or not? What if Arsenal won the Champions League as well? Does that change it? Avis says, hi James, what plans for the holiday season? Do you travel abroad on vacations? What country have you enjoyed the most? Working. What country I enjoy the most? I mean, for football, I love going to Germany for football, to be honest. Probably the one. Yeah, I like Deutschland. In terms of holidays, we're borrowing off to Spain next summer and stuff before the World Cup final. It will still be content prior to that. Yeah, my travel's Tottenham, mate, pretty much. ITTTT, best beer for Christmas Day. I'll tell you what, I've had a few of recent, not much. I don't drink much anymore. I like Cruz Campos, nice. Adam says, fully agree on takes regarding how King of Mandalore. True, you got me there. There you go. The Jock Goat says, do you think Arsenal are actually favourites for the Champions League? Yes. Yes, I do. I see too many vulnerabilities in the others. Barcelona, way too open defensively. Bayern Munich, they're just rattled at the Emirates. Real Madrid, listen, when the time comes, they may or may not fix themselves. Arsenal completely dominated them in the Champions League last season. Arsenal were the strongest side in the Premier League. They won't have many players within the squad that have hit the line, obviously, in terms of winning even a major cup final like that. So that might count against them at the final moment. But they're by far the strongest team defensively when they've got their key personnel available. By far the strongest. They're not as strong as, they've not got as much in terms of power, kind of X factor, like Barca or even Madrid or even City, or Paris Saint-Germain, obviously. And Paris Saint-Germain, my team just scored 3 times in Paris. There's plenty of vulnerabilities there as well. But yeah, I think Champions Leagues either get won by the best quality team or the best defensive team. Now, more often than not, I think over the last, since Pep at Barca, more often than not, that's been won by the best team. And this is not the best team, doesn't always win it, but let's say attacking football. Arsenal have that capability. It's just a bit different. But they are by far the strongest defence. And if they can get that right against, as they did say against Real Madrid last year, then yeah. I mean, I would make them favourites, yeah. Tom Dewsbury says, I think Liverpool go on a run in the UCL. Anfield factor still have big players for one-off games. Yeah, and exactly that. Like Liverpool, say Arsenal's favourites. Could Liverpool beat Arsenal over 2 games? Of course. Yeah. It's cup competition at the end of the day. Right, that's it. Thanks, guys. Love you lots. Have a great Christmas. Smash a like, hit the sub button if you can support the show. www.patreon.com/planetfpl. I would love that to be my Christmas present. Thank you all in advance. Have a great weekend, everyone. I hope your arrows are green. So you'll be back with me for the game review pod on Monday. Ciao for now, everyone.